Biking is an activity which, over the past decade, has become synonymous with hipster residents, code, that usually are in central Brooklyn, and they are also known as gentrifiers. But I see many, if not more, black bikers along Eastern Parkway or Fulton.
Yeah, I mean, you always hear people talking about, like, oh, white people and they're biking and all this stuff. But one of the things that I love when I found the Brooklyn Bike Crew on Instagram was that there were so many black people who were just like, we're black, we're biking, we're having fun, we're going places. And I was like, that's me. So I just definitely wanted to hear more, Marlon. Just tell us about the crew and what you think it is that makes it so that there's what the perception is, I should say, in this neighborhood about race and biking.
Well, like I started biking back in 2008 with some friends. We just decided to buy bikes. This is around Bloomberg was in office, boo. And I think bike lanes were now coming out. Some were already placed in central Brooklyn for, as you call them, the gentrifiers and their bike loving ways. But we just saw it as, okay, cool. Just a group of friends that hung out together and like, oh, you know, because we wanted to get around central Brooklyn, locations that were like relatively close, and it's like it makes no sense because parking is already terrible. So we all got bikes. At the time, I think I still lived all the way in East Flatbush, so I was just riding back and forth.
East Flatbush, some of us were born and raised there.
Fine.
I'm just saying.
But you know, that was the start of it all, and people were like, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" A lot of black folks looking at us like, "What are you guys doing?" Even my dad was like, "Why do you have a bike?"
he's like, "What are you 10?"
Exactly. Why do you have a bike? And I'm like, you know, it's a better way of getting around for me because one, I don't have to pay insurance on this thing. I don't have to look for parking for a long time. Well, little did I know now. I do, but
wait, you could get a ticket?
No, that you can. It takes a while to find parking now for your bike sometimes.
Sometimes even on bikes,
depending on where you are, like there's nowhere to lock your bike. There's no pole.
It gets really real.
It's gotten really real, but flash forward now, Brooklyn Bike Crew started pretty much organized by Francie back in the day. She just wanted to get people together, all her friends together that had bikes, and just
who happened
ride.
to be black.
Yes, who happened to be black and ride. You know, we would have destinations. We would have like little picnics depending on where we got to. It was a socializing thing, and it grew once Francie left. Marcy took the helm, and now
These are all Central Brooklynites?
These are all Central Brooklynites, and she actually formalized it a little bit more where she was able to actually identify where we were going. Before we were just like riding to random places. Right. Now she's like, okay, here's a schedule. We're gonna go, you know, on this day we're going here. On Wednesday we go
organizing.
Here. Yeah, so now you have like a schedule. You actually know what days you're riding. You have a calendar that comes out prior to the month to know where you're gonna head.
Where do you go sometimes?
Yeah, there's even now we actually have a formal name, Brooklyn Bike Crew.
Jeanmarie asked.
So where do you go? What are some of the places you go?
We rode through Jersey. We went over the George Washington Bridge into Jersey. We went apple picking upstate New York, took the train up to Poughkeepsie.
I think you got his number.
And then we rode further. We do our annual ride, I guess, to Coney Island. We dismount, lock bikes, have
Did you
fun
do the
day.
Coney Island one yet?
Yeah, we've done that several times.
No,
we did it this
summer,
year, yes.
This summer.
Yeah,
You're not going to do it again?
It's a simple ride, so we do it all the time.
I mean, I know.
Oh. You can petition Marcy to have the ride again.
Okay. So, I mean, of course, I could just ride by myself, but I want to do it with Black.
No, it's much more fun.
Well, how do you get involved? Because, like, you know, even preparing for this segment, trying to find a little bit more about it, you guys are pretty ghost online.
No, you see, the thing is, it's all in your head because we have from beginners all the way up to, well, we don't have any expert riders. We'll all just say intermediate. And it's just people's love. A lot of people come out for their first time on bike riding, probably first time owning a bike, and they're nervous. So you see it, but someone always stays with you in the crew. You never get lost. And if you do get displaced from the crew, someone's gonna come find you. Guaranteed.
And it's informal, right? You just follow on Instagram and then you show
up.
You
follow on Instagram, you show up. There's no membership. There's no commitment. If you want to ride, come up and ride. That's it.
How do you get swag?
What do you mean? Would you want swag from Brooklyn Bike Crew?
Yeah, didn't you guys have like a logo?
Yes. Oh, we had one of our bikers create the logo, and then Marcy started to create the swag products. But it wasn't just we have it on a website, selling it everywhere. You know, it's part of the crew. You want to belong kind of thing.
Where are your colors?
There's no colors.
Is it really the Brooklyn Bike Gang?
Bike crew. Brooklyn Bike Crew.
So when
gotta
you know,
make sure.
I've had experiences in the sense that like I travel, and when I travel, I usually travel the group, and the group that I usually travel with are my people, so they're usually other young black people. And when we're like in India, people are looking at us like, why are these all these black people together in India, right? So when you guys are biking in Coney Island or biking in New Jersey or Brooklyn as a group, as a collective, what are some of the reactions to your collective that you've gotten?
In this day and age, you don't really get any reactions to it because it's such a normal sight now. Cycling, you know, it's been around for a long time. Black people have always been into cycling, so don't get the misconception that it's only now coming about. It's just that at the time, one, you didn't have the bike lanes, so people weren't really thinking of that as an actual mode of transportation rather than an exercise. And two, the people that you saw cycling, you know, people ride around the neighborhood kind of thing. Nothing major is like, oh, I'm riding to work.
Point A to point B.
Exactly, because you had to train, because once again, they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about cars, taxis. And the people that actually did cycle purchased the expensive cycles, and you'd see them in Central Park or Prospect Park doing the loops because you needed the financial means. Because
wearing the little hats.
Yeah, you know, it's not one of those things you could just get into without any financial means. It actually costs you something to invest in a bike, the lock.
But now you can get a bike on Craigslist for like $20
Exactly.
and a pack of Twinkies.
Yeah.
You know, but
Wait, are Twinkies still a thing? Is that, did they shut down? I might have messed up.
I think they still eat those.
Okay.
They're the only thing to survive the apocalypse.
But then, like, so the thing about Brooklyn Bike Crew that I think is interesting is that, you see on Instagram all these great, beautiful black people biking, going places, but it's not by definition a black crew.
No.
So then how does race factor in? Like, is that something that y'all even talk about? Is there like an awareness that you're a group of black people, or is it just like, it's just whatever, we're just riding bikes?
we actually have a quite mixed crew. It all depends on which ride you look at. You see the various members of the thing, but it literally, like I said, it started out as friends.
Right.
And most times your friends tend to be of your own race. And then over time, you know, everyone has tons of friends of different races. So those people got involved once you started putting it on social media. And now we have like this multicultural, but it's prominently black bike crew, not gang.
Oh, it sounds like BMC. Multicultural, but mostly black.
Yeah.
I'll say, as a black person who bikes, who sees a lot of black and non-black people biking, it's still, whether or not like there's that awareness within the crew, there's definitely an awareness for me on the outside, and maybe like for other people who weren't a part of the beginning to just see, like, it does make an impact to even on the internet to see young black people biking and being excited, because usually when I see young people from Brooklyn biking and being excited about it, they're white. Like, that's real. Like, they're white hipsters, or they're just white. Maybe they're not hipsters, or they own like bike shops. And like, the more it's like I know that black people bike, but the more that I like viscerally see it, the more encouraging and more empowering it is for me to be out there biking and, you know, being black.
I just kind of want to challenge. Sorry, this idea.
Challenge it.
Well, because we were just talking about the mode of transportation of the subway and how expensive that gets. A lot of immigrant communities use the bikes. Ride up and down in bikes. I don't see it as the domain like that, especially.
Well, I'm saying I'm talking about a perception, because clearly, like I said, of course I know black people who bike, but even like the reactions that I got when I started biking, I bought a bike before I had my driver's license. My family was like, "What are you doing?" They were like, "Do you need money? We'll get you a car." I was like, "Guys, chill. I just like biking." And coming from an immigrant family, my family is Haitian. So, there is a very real perception about what it means to be a black person biking. And there's a gap between that perception and actually being a black person biking, often with other black people biking.
And I understand what you're saying, and I agree to an extent, because those people that you see in the immigrant community biking are generally grown people. And they have made this choice that, maybe I can't afford a car, or I prefer biking because I'm coming from the West Indies where I biked as my mode of transportation.
Yeah, because I've always seen bikers around.
Yeah, so they ride. But
So.
even for me, my dad and my parents are from Guyana. I'm from Guyana as well, and I was born there. People biked. A lot of people had their cycles. You see the photos of the old big English bicycles that they rode. And I remember bringing a bicycle home. My dad looked at me like, "Are you crazy? Why do you have a bike?" So, this is a guy that grew up cycling, and then all of a sudden you move here, you forget about that way of life. And so everything is focused around either mass transportation or owning your own car. Right. So you're almost frowned upon at times because you have a bike. It's like, oh, you can't afford it, then that's why you bought a bike. You got to ride everywhere.
Well,
it's like,
let's talk about like maybe we don't think about the race, but is being a person of color on a bike criminalized in any way? And the reason I asked that is because we had a conversation during Stoops. Anthony and Marlon, another BMC member, Ed Gordon, had a conversation, and one of the things that came up was that police officers are more quick, like the whole broken windows policy, like if you're on the sidewalk or you're biking without a light or whatever it is, like are those more opportunities to interact with police officers?
It's an opportunity. There's you don't really need anything to be an opportunity to interact with police officers.
Being black, opportunity to interact with a police officer.
But the fact is, I don't think I don't know from any personal experience. I mean, I've gotten tickets for riding a bike. My friends have. As a matter of fact, the very first person that I ever knew that got a quality of life infraction for riding a bike was my white great friend who lives in France but was visiting us.
Your white great friend?
Yeah,
is that like
he's
better than a good friend.
Oh, okay.
My boy Alex, he came. He was here visiting. He was spending an extended period of time in New York, and he had literally just bought a bike that I sold to him. And
hustler.
He went out, and I think this was like 2009. He went out biking, and he got a ticket automatically for being on the sidewalk. If I'm not correct, I think he got arrested. Yeah.
So we're on the ground arrested?
Yeah, he didn't get thrown. I don't know how they arrested him. He got arrested though because we couldn't find him. We couldn't find him. No, I mean, this is a French kid. We're like, yo, where's Alex? And he's like, oh, I got these tickets. And I was like, these assholes put me on for.
Like, where's Alex? He's like, you see.
Then I remember my roommate Colin. He got the dumbest ticket. He got a ticket for coming out of Home Depot and riding on the sidewalk, but. Mind you, it's the apron of the street that leads into Home Depot, which is technically their driveway.
There's a curb cut. There's a curb cut. Like if I'm on a curb cut, is it really the sidewalk?
He's like, do you ticket cars to come up here as well? Which was completely dumb. So there's always but I don't see any unfair things against blacks compared to whites.
I don't know. I mean, I think for me, it's tough because I'm very intentional about not riding on the sidewalk, always riding the right way when being on the street, and not because like I have this like inherent want inside me to obey the law, but really just because it just don't make sense. Like you ride on the sidewalk and like the blocks will be all like janky, like you can hurt yourself riding on the sidewalk. I don't like riding into traffic, like so there are things that for me that I'm just not gonna do.
I guess that's my thing.
And you haven't gotten a chance to say much.
No. I mean, as like I was saying, I have a bike, but I got a bike because there was the transit strike, and then I had to do all the rollerblading, and that was long. Rollerblade to get to work, and then every year we started having some storm. Whether it was in the winter or this that was like shutting down the subways. Sandy. And you're just like, and then I was like, you are trapped. It's like, you got, there's no four, and then also like if it's a blizzard, the buses are pulled, and so,
I don't think you want to be on your bike in a blizzard. Though.
I was gonna say, does
it's
having a bike help that situation?
Yeah, I don't know, but I felt like, when I talked to my mom, I think was it Irene after the first one, she's like, why don't you have a bike? You need to get something, because she gave me like this little wind up radio, so for my urban survival during
Shout out to
blackouts.
I know. Mom is Y2K radio.
She had so much water after that, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I have a bike too. I feel I'm not as comfortable, and like I'd rather go against traffic because I can see the cars coming.
And you can pray.
It's like when I'm riding in the bike and I'm going with traffic, I feel more apprehensive because I'm like, I don't know if you see me. I don't know if you're gonna stop. I don't know if you're gonna like ride in the back line. You know what I mean? Back lane.
Well, where do you go when the car is coming at you?
Did you just call it the black lane or the bike lane?
Where do you go so
I
the
go
car
on the
doesn't hit you?
sidewalk.
You see, you can't be on the
It
sidewalk.
must take a long time to get places.
It's literally a mental block that people have because they realize they're on a bicycle and you're not encapsulated.
Yeah.
So you literally, in order to become a bike rider, you have to take the mind frame that I am a car.
Mm-hmm.
So they honk at you, you look back at them and go, what?
Yeah.
I'm commuting just like you're commuting. You don't have any more right to this road than I do. So similarly, you just continue your ride. I mean, there's laws that have been passed to try to protect you. They're not stringent enough because a lot of times cars do cut you off. And now they're talking about, oh, you get a fine, but you could have died in that process, you know what I'm saying? Okay, cool, the dude paid $500 for my dead body. Thank you. Thank you. You know, you got to do better than that. But those laws are coming along because literally New York is becoming like a European city. Everybody's just cycling around.
Boston.
Yeah. But it gets there slowly enough. And going back to that police thing, it's funny because I know every time a police would pull up next to me, I go through the lights when it's red. Yes, I said it. But there's nothing coming. I don't, I'm not gonna.
Do a rolling stop.
Exactly. If the perpendicular street is empty, I go across.
Yeah.
But if the cops pull up next to me, I don't know, man. I turn into this whole different person. Like I yank one headphone out the air. I make sure I'm fucking like stopping. It's like, all right. If it's nighttime, I make sure my lights are on. I mean, which I do ride with lights, but you become this whole like different person. And I see people like of all the complexions, they're like, fuck it, they just go through the light. I'm like,
yeah. Well, that's my thing too. It's like
why?
As a black person, there's certain liberties you don't have, and I would even argue like as a woman, I think what you're talking about, that like being like safe and okay and just I feel like that when we are used to seeing black people biking, we're used to seeing black men biking. You know, that it's even more empowering, more great things with Brooklyn Bike Crew, like to see women biking. So there's something about that can also empower women to take up more, black women to take up more space. Mm-hmm.
It's always been led by women.
But I mean, we gotta get you riding with the cars though.
No, I mean, I remember when I first started riding, you taught me to go down Troy. Because another thing, Utica is a crazy street.
No, I don't ride on streets. I try not to ride on streets that have
Try to
buses.
find streets.
Or dollar.
And starting, I would recommend you plan your route out for wherever you're going. Try to find bike lanes if possible, or try to find quiet streets that you can go down one-way
Eastern Parkway is great. Like I could run up and down Eastern Parkway
all day. Eastern Parkway is a park. Like it's a park away.
Yeah.
Like,
not everyone gets this, but find the quiet one-way street.
Fulton,
no, don't ride Utica. Don't ride on Fulton if you're not an experienced rider.
If the street has a bus line, don't ride on it.
Pretty much. Pretty much, because then you're,
Because then you have to deal with a bus, and that's just
But, there are bike rules that people need to follow in order to maintain safety. And then there are the scumbags that just want to do whatever they want to do, which makes it difficult for you following the rules. So, if everyone played on the same field, we'd be good on
and
the
riders,
cycling.
car drivers are assholes. Like, I've been in a car with my uncle where, like, he will, like, if a biker cuts him off, he'll go after not go after him, but, like, he'll do things as if it's a car. And I'm like,
well, you have to the culture is new of cycling to a lot of people. So they're not understanding that, this cyclist is just like another car.
Yeah.
You can't do certain things. And of course, there'll forever be road rage.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
but
it's the difference between having road rage from a car to a bike.
Exactly, because all you have to do is bump them.
Well,
they're dead.
The thing is that cars, like in driving culture or in transportation culture, drivers have the most privilege, right? So like they're always going to be in a position to have rage and potentially kill you as a pedestrian, as a biker, as another driver, right? So it's like if that's the mentality that we're taking to like the streets that are ours, then you might as well just stay home. You know what I mean? Because like what you can't control what other people are going to do, and I feel like in both and all of those modes of transportation that are physically based in the street, you can only really control what you're going to do.
Correct.
And that's the only way for you to keep yourself safe.
All right, so y'all listening or watching at home, or walking down the street or biking, let us know what you think. If you've been black for years, you've been biking for years, you just started, come on our Facebook. And we say this a lot, guys, we really want to know what you think. So really do come on our Facebook page at Brooklyn Deep, our Twitter, BKLYN Deep, and use that hashtag BKDTR to connect with us.